Delighted to welcome you all here this morning to our 29th Maria Festival. So over the years, we've had very exciting programs, but this year is no exception. We have lots of music and sound and literature, art and wellness and resilience and lots of creativity lined up for the weekend. I want to thank our sponsors for over the years. We've been fantastic sponsors, and particularly this year to Longford County Council and to Creative Ireland Law. Giving us generously this year. Also, who else? Thank our very hard working committee, and of course all the help from people throughout the year, various people who've helped us to bring this weekend to welcome Matt Barl, who will officially open our 29th Maria Edgeworth Festival. So sit back and enjoy. Thank you.
Just in welcoming you all here today, can I just give a little plug for ourselves in Edgeworthstown? In the 18th and 19th century, Edgeworthstown, throughout the near continent, was recognised as an important scene of enlightenment. We had that came here to Edgeworthstown. William Herschel, John Herschel, Caroline Herschel, Charles Babbage, Michael Faraday, Sir Humphrey Davy, Charles Edmund Dumont from Paris, the Pichets from Switzerland. And they all came here, philosophers, right? To exchange ideas with the Edgeworth family. And the Edgeworths in return went to Switzerland, went to Belgium, went to France. And they went over to learn and bring new learning back to Ireland. And a lot of it has been written out, unfortunately, out of our Irish history. And over the last 40 years, we have tried to reposition Edgeworthstown as the Midland Enlightenment, as the best Enlightenment. We can see it all around here in our community in the last few years. We have a new library here, we have a hub, we've built a childcare facility up in the various childcare facilities. We've built recreational facilities for young people. And now we have Maria Edgeworth Festival Museum, which has an incredible collection of memorabilia going back to like the earliest one that we have in the lecture was back to 1659. So Edgeworthstown is on the rise, so I just want to give that little plug. So it gives me great pleasure to welcome Dr. Richard Hogan, our first speaker today. Richard, it doesn't need much of an introduction, as he's so well known in Ireland, in the field of psychotherapy. Most of us will know from the radio and television, Brendan O'Connor. And it was actually on the Brendan O'Connor show. I was listening to Richard, and he struck me as an example that could bring, again, enlightenment to Edgeworthstown. And each day after going over, I sent him an email, and I think I had a response straight away. And from that, we have Richard here today. And I suppose we say building resilience and well-being. We read in the paper of all the tragedies with young people, especially in Longford. And it's a discussion that we probably should be having. And it's something that's very dear to my heart. 50 years ago, I lost my sister actually to suicide. And a major event in my life. But in one thing, it was something that we never discussed, and the only person I ever discussed it was with my wife. My own family, we don't even discuss it. So it's an important part of our life, and I'm delighted here that has been brought out in people. And so I'm really looking forward to this discussion. And welcome to Richard.
Thank you very much, Glenn. Let's stay there. It's great to be here, guys. I have to say, as I'm talking, if you want to ask me a question, just ask me. I like it to be just like informal in the chat, talk about some of the theory behind what I say. If you want to ask me any question, please just put your hand up when we can converse between us. I don't know if I'm going to be in this. If I'm going to be in the Bachelor of Enlightenment, that Matt just we'll see. They were big names there, Matt. So I just want to start off with this little stat there. I worked in a thing. This stat came out there in 2019. It was a review of like mental health amongst college students. And we've never had more mental health talk in our community, we haven't. I mean, we've never had more, mental health chat in schools. We've never had more mental health promotion. We've never had more literature about mental health. Our children have never been bombarded with as much mental health promotion as any other time before with TikTok and Snapchat and all the rest of it. And Instagram, I mean, they're swarmed with mental health. And all that would be great if statistics were showing us their mental health is fantastic. But we could see it's much better. It's actually the opposite. Right? And so there's the first thing to say. We're in the middle of this, like, it's, someone said to me there recently, can't remember the term they used, but they used the term about, like, mental health promotion being this upswinging industry, and I always call it a juggernaut of an industry. It reminds me of the diet fad from the 90s. Remember the diet ads in the 90s? Everything was like 6-minute ads with people who weren't doctors talking about, diets, and they did a lot of harm, talking about, like, restricting parts of your diet and all that kind of stuff. Get the body that you're after. You can get 5-minute abs to just cut out carbs. That's the dangerous way to live your life without any carbohydrates. And they were calling themselves doctors. Do you remember Gillian McKeith was calling herself Dr. McKeith, and it was like your body, you are what you eat, remember? And then she was exposed as not being a doctor. And we're surrounded with that at the moment in the mental health field. We're absolutely surrounded by it. And in schools, we have to be very careful that we're not endorsing mental health for children. I think we currently are doing that. And I talk about that, and I get criticized for that, but I won't ever stop saying because I see it. I'm working in schools all the time. I'm working with adolescents in my clinic all the time. I hear them, and I hear what's happening. I sit on the National Advisory Board, so I'm talking to principals from all over the country, right? So I'm getting all the information, all the data back from them, and then I carry out my own research myself. And I see it amongst young adolescents. Mental health is a serious issue because we're swamping them with, like, it's okay not to be okay. We're giving them very negative messages. And what I say to them when I'm talking to them is that it's okay to be okay. In fact, it's desirable to be okay. Because currently what it is like, if you're only okay, or, you're kind of seen as being a bit boring, or it's not desirable to be kind of feeling good about yourself. It's actually much better to be like Billie Eilish, who suffers from, like, self-harm and all that. And that's much more desirable, the way we're doing it at the moment. So we have to be very careful this is why I say to principals all the time, be very careful. I'm not saying that we bring it back to stigmatizing and don't talk about it. Talk about it's fine, but the kind of conversations we have about it is really important, right? And so we're currently bringing people into the schools, and we're not vetting them to see, what's your outcome here? What are you trying to talk to our kids about? I mean, it's such an important thing to put someone in front of your child, and that's why I say to principals, because they the way they would say to me, I do seminars, a lot of principals, and they'd say, we feel that this is not our expertise. They're like, but you're the expert in your school, and you decide the culture of your school, and you decide who comes into your school, speak to your kids. That's really important. And if I said to them, this is the training I give them, if you ask somebody for their outcome goal in the talk, and they don't know what the outcome goal is, they have no business being in front of your child, the children there, but they're going to come in and talk about, say, self-harm, which happens a lot, If you bring somebody in, a minor celebrity, to a school, and they talk about self-harm, they're literally, if they've got no understanding of how to help children out of that behavior, they're literally suggesting it to children. So I've had so many conversations about this, and I spoke about this on the Tonight Show. And most people support it, but like a lot of people who give me the talks were very angry with me for saying that. And I was like, well, that's okay if you're angry about it. Surely you've got some, like, good policy behind it and some good data behind what you're talking about. And they don't. And so it's like the diet ads of the 90s, going and talking. They're making money out of it. This is their industry. They see it's a big thing to say that they had a mental health issue. If I was thinking, if I'm sitting in class, one of my big heroes would be John Lennon. And if John Lennon came in and said he's self-harmed, and I'm 15, when everything in my brain is designed around attention, all those regions of the brain for attention, peer feedback, all of that stuff is so sensitive at that age, more than any other age in our development. That it's so sensitive. I'm going to go off there maybe, potentially. Copy that. And I've sat with teenagers who have said to me that this is, I said, from where did you get the idea for that? And they said, well, I got the idea for that from somebody who went to school as well. So we have to be very careful. There's some really good people out there working who are really interested in mental health and promotion for children and developing mental health. And then there's some other people that are just there for fast buck, and we have to be careful who's there for children, who talks to our children. Because that statistic shows me, well, anxiety is the big issue, isn't it? I mean, anxiety is the like, epidemic for most adolescents. We have to look at that and say, well, what is that about? Why are they so anxious? What's happening there? And as I analyze it, I'd say, well, what is anxiety? First of all, clinically, I'd say it's a fear of an unknown future event. Right? Anyway, nothing going to fire your warning system, like thinking about something in the future and not knowing what that's going to be. And then underneath that, there's a paradigm, a belief. I don't have the skills to meet that future unknown event. And so that's, to me, that's anxiety that fires the warning system. Belief that you don't have the skills to meet an unknown future event. Right? So when I'm working, I've got 3 hours myself. And when I'm working with them, and when I'm working with them, when I'm talking with them and chatting with them and having a conversation about things, I'm always aware of that idea. Anxiety is the fear of an unknown future event. And it's underpinned with the belief that I don't have the skills to meet that unknown future event. And what gives them the belief that they have the skills to meet that unknown future event is actually experiencing adversity, actually experiencing some ups and downs in life, and not be running to solution, but to solve something. My daughter would often come to me and ask me, some problems. She's kind of looking at me going, aren't you meant to be the dude who solves these things? And all she'd ever met was a question. She had an issue there in 5th class, and for years, what I was doing, when I said working, this is what I meant. For years, my wife used to laugh at it, and I'd say, okay, guys, we'll go upstairs, let's do buddy school. And I'd bring them upstairs, and we'd have buddy school, and I'd say to 3 daughters, and I'd say, Hannah, your hair is terrible. And she said, Jesus, Dad, why would anyone say that? And I go, well, that's a good question. That's a good first question to ask. Why would anyone say something about your hair like that? Why would they make a comment about your hair like that? Is that about your hair, or is that about them? So all I'm doing is asking them questions. All I'm trying to do there is get into their thinking when they're nice and calm up in the bedroom, so that when they meet it later on, they can deal with it. They've got the good thinking there, right? And so I'd say terrible things to them. And, and I'd say, well, here's the thing, I'd say. Here's the thing, you're going to meet all this when you go to the yard. I said, here's the thing, you've got huge power here. I'd say, what do you think your power is? I'd say, I don't know. I'd say, well, you can decide to react to that and believe them, or you can decide not to react to it. And then it's just the words of someone trying to hurt you. And then maybe you're not giving them the power of hurting you. And now you're ultimately so powerful. And I can see my daughter going, oh, Jesus, pretty good. Right? And then I was telling you a quick funny story. One day I was coming back from a talk. My eldest daughter was in 5th class. She was waiting for me at the door and she said, Dad, you won't believe what happened today at school. And I was actually only talking to school last week. I told them the story to the principal. Remember that? And she said to me, there was a girl crying in the yard. I said, oh, God, that's terrible. What happened to her? She said, I went over to her and I asked her, are you okay? And I said, what the girl said? A boy told her that she was a whale. I said, that's terrible. What did you say? She said, well, I asked her, are you a whale? I'm thinking, I'm going to be called out to the school. Explain myself here. And I said, okay, dear Jesus. And what did the girls say? I was worried. What did the girls say? She might understand what Hannah was doing there. And she said, what? She looked at me kind of strange, thinking, what do you mean? And I explained to him that I explained to her that you're not a whale, obviously. And so it's only the words of this boy who's trying to hurt you. And if you don't believe the boy, you're not a whale. It's just a boy trying to hurt you. And she said to me, Dad, immediately her head came back. She was smiling. I said, that's great. She said, you know what she said to me as I walked away, Dad? I said, well, no, what? She said, you'd make a great therapist, Hannah. True story, right? And what I was doing with those kids, for so many years, immunizing them to the real world, giving them a little bit of what life is like. So that, think about COVID, get a little bit of the germ there, the virus. So when you get it into your system, a lot of it can deal with it. And so when they were down in school and they heard people come from the course, kids are going to say terrible things to kids. That's kids, right? Adults say terrible things to adults, right? So another time she said to me, some girl who called her Sandra was saying negative things to her. And she said to me, what should I do? And I said, well, this is great, Hannah. I could see her looking going, what the hell are you talking about? I said, are you going to meet Sandra your whole life? I said, you're going to meet Sandra. I said, believe me, you get to secondary school, Sandra will be more sophisticated. Wait till you get to work, she's going to be ultimately sophisticated. So you have to figure this out now yourself. And I could see her thinking, what the hell am I going to do here? What I was thinking is I'm giving her the memory of dealing with the Sandra. So when she thinks about things down the line, she has that memory. Because that's the key, that's the antidote to anxiety. And if anxiety is the fear of an unknown future event, and I have a belief I can't meet that unknown future event, that's going to make me incredibly anxious. Nothing's going to fire your warning system. Nothing's going to set the fire alarm off there, the amygdala off there, like that, right? And so what I'm doing is, I'm working with teenagers. I'm trying to give them the memory of managing it. So we have memory for a couple of reasons. One, survival, massive survival. If someone came in here, if the tiger came in here and ate Matt, when we saw the tiger again, we'd all run or try to fight it. Or maybe some of us could freeze, right? And so we need the memory of overcoming. That's one reason for memory. But another reason for memory is that it depends on who we are today. I'm standing here with all the memory of all my education and of all the work I've done. I mean, if I didn't have that, it would be a weird thing for me to be standing here, right? So I have all the memory of that. But that's one reason for memory. But it also allows me to accurately predict who I'll be tomorrow. All the memories that I've had allow me to think about who I'll be tomorrow. So if you think about anxiety, as you get those memories behind you, you deal with things. And that issue with hand resolved. She's not really talked to me too much, asked me about any student like that ever again. Because she has the memory, she can deal with it. And so if I rushed in there and said, well, let me solve this problem for you, because I'm like the solver of all problems here. I'm doing that for me. You know what I mean? I'm being the hero in her life, and that's kind of like, I can't be there all the time. I'm not going to be there with her. The analogy I always give to parents, because I can see them struggling with this a little bit, the analogy I'd say is when you're crossing the road, with your child, you'd never say to them, don't worry about the cars, I'm always here to cross the road with you. Because when they went down there, they'd be annihilated. And so you teach them all the good stuff. The cars are transient, they pass, don't go, wait, hit the light, don't even accept the green light as it goes, wait for the car to stop, then you cross the road. You're preparing them for when you're not there. And so what you're doing when you give your kids that memory is you're preparing them for around when they meet an issue, they can rely on themselves. Hopefully they come and talk to you, but they're resourceful enough to kind of say, well, I can manage that. What I was meeting is, but that statistic came out is like, it makes perfect sense to me. I've meeting so many college students who come into me like 1920, who are dealing with breakups. I mean, we've all, of course I haven't, but we've all been broken up. Never. We've all been broken up with. We've all had those experiences. We've all stressed our exams. We've all probably, I definitely did cram to the last inch out of the thing right before the exam. We've all done that. And we've all managed to get through. But this cohort here, collapsing under this, you're kind of going, well, what's that about? They have no memory. And when I was talking to them, when I was looking at this, I'd say to them, what was school like? They all described getting notes, get out of things. Then I had struggling to go into school. And then I was allowed to stay at home from school. And it was all out of love, trying to protect your child, You steal all those learning moments, you steal all that really rich memory when you try to protect your child that much. It's actually devouring in a way. It's like I have a 13-year-old currently heading off to Carlingford this weekend with a school trip and all that. And she wrecks my head at times because she's into her technology so much. And that's just every teenage. Only fight we have is around 4. It's an ongoing, but even last night, there was an ongoing battle. She has to hand the phone up at 8 o'clock. And, all her apps get turned off. And she's raging with me. I see her looking at me. And when she was in 6th and 5th class again, she said to me, Dad, everyone has a smartphone. I said, you're not getting a smartphone at 5th class. And it's definitely not happening. You won't be getting it at 6th class either. I said, I know it's painful. If they all have a smartphone, I get that it's painful. Then she came back to me about a week later. She said, Dad, a girl of 6th class came up to me and said, it's your dad's fault. I don't have a smartphone. I said, when you got a buddy, hang around together in a non-smartphone world. She was like very funny, right? But and so that's the only fight. That's the only arguments that we have is around the smartphone. I can hear her groaning upstairs when I have set up that the apps turn off. Particularly TikTok turns off at 8 o'clock. I can hear her. Fuck. Upstairs. And then I go up and I take the phone. I can see her scowling at me. This beautiful child who was like, this incredible thing on her. I can see her looking at me going, I really don't like you, her. But she's not getting what she wants. And I'm like, I can handle that. I can handle when she's not happy with me last night. She was on because she was, oh, they're all on TikTok tonight. They're all chatting about what's happening tomorrow with the speech. And I said, well, you can catch up tomorrow. I'll take her phone off for now. She was annoyed. And I think we got ourselves caught in a little bit, and our kids do this to us. They position us as friends. Friends don't take the phone off. Friends don't turn off the apps. Friends don't say what time to go to bed at. Friends don't say, you have to get up and go to school now. And friends don't give you, so you have to be very careful, your position for friends. So you have an inverted hierarchy when that happens. They live as they want to live, and all children crave boundaries. I mean, it's a fundamental thing about how to navigate the world. Boundaries are so important, and I think our generation, my generation of parents, got that a little bit. It's a little overcorrection, maybe. But I think myself growing up in the 80s, 70s, and 80s, there was no boundary. There was too many boundaries in some ways, and then there was none in other ways. You know what I mean? It was a bizarre struggle. In some ways, you go out and you come back like 8-10 hours later and apparently all your life. Great. That was, I don't know if that was everyone's childhood, but that was my childhood. Where you just went out for the day, I head out at 8 o'clock in the morning and come back when I was hungry. Now we were checking everything. Right? And so it's like trying to get a little happy medium there. So we're kind of like, we're more on them in real life and less on them online. It probably needs to be a little bit reversed. We need a little bit more online supervision and a little bit more freedom in their lives to go out there and experience the world. But boundaries are what, like, when I say boundaries, I mean having ramifications for their behaviors. When they break a rule, when they overgame, not to destroy their spirit, but that they have rules and consequences for their behavior. And parents, when I work with them, often think, are you being dictatorial there as well? It depends how you implement that rule. If you're putting them to game because they go over game and don't come in, that's dictatorial. That's Ozymandias, you're the ruler, the world here. It's like, that's not it. But you're just bringing in a boundary. Because honestly, the way I see boundaries is that it teaches them how to critically evaluate the world. It teaches them when they go off into the world and you're not there, how to make good decisions. Should I swim now? I've had a few drinks. Possibly not, because you could drown. Should I jump across this balcony? And if I fall down there, I'd probably cripple myself. That's what boundaries actually do, because they bring in the consequence of behaviors. So they learn to understand that my behavior brings in consequences. And so all behavior is a choice. And I'm choosing also the consequences of that behavior. Not in the way that annihilates their spirit, but in the way that they understand, I have a choice here. I can drive after drinking here. That's a choice I can make. And I can bring all of this really negative stuff into my life. And that's what boundaries really do. And I think my generation of parents kind of missed that a little bit. There was a backlash to our childhood, and they said, we're going to overly protect the child, we're going to give them so much love. And that's one of the paradoxes that I see in parenting is the thing you want to do the most, which is correct maybe a child when parenting was, my mother kills when I said this, austere or distant or whatever it is. You might want to say, I'm going to tell the child they're so loved, they're going to validate every their feelings, and you bring the exact same thing into their lives. They don't feel it because it's so much, and it's like boundaries and having good understanding of good understanding of how to respond when your child is anxious, because it is frightening to see your child anxious. Our childhood is never, it's right here. You're all of your childhood experience. That all the invisible forces that drive you are sitting right here today. And they're always involved in your conversations with everybody. Your attachment to your primary caregiver when you're a child, massively significant. How was your mother and your father with you when you were a child? And John Bolton stuff, that's really significant in your interactions with people. Was it secure? Was it avoidant? Was it anxious? Was it dysfunctional? I often work with couples in couples therapy. I see two very different attachments early on in their childhood, and I can see them trying to express love to each other in just a different language because they experience it differently growing up. And so, that can be a real trouble, a real problem in a relationship. One might want to hear love a lot, one might not be able to express like that because of the different ways they were reared, and it causes all sorts of trouble. And so we're all these invisible forces. And then when you went into school, you were labelled by the school, weren't you? Were we all labelled by the school? Yeah. We absolutely were. When I went into secondary school, I remember I have a brother who was 2 years ahead of me, who was just this academic, just incredible. Even he's so annoying, that could have been brilliant at 5. How the hell? I remember him saying to me when he was 8, I'm going to be a millionaire by the time I'm 30. the hell, I didn't even know what that was. when I went into school, they said to me, "Oh, you're Shane's brother." We're all excited, and then a month later, they're like, "You're Shane's brother." couldn't understand the two things, but I felt it. You know what I mean? I absolutely felt it. There's like dyslexia that came there and whatnot. While dyslexia really disrupted my sense of self, and then the teacher will label you and some brothers a certain way to think, you're not. And I went to America and full of my scholarship there a couple of years ago, and I do a lot of this about like inclusion and labeling and all that kind of stuff. And when I'm working in DC, I get them to write out. I work with teachers. Think about labels. And I say think labels don't write the future, don't predict the future. They write them. And so if we label our kids, we can force that label out, and they will live that label out for a long time. And I get to write down on the right hand side all the labels you've received in your school. Not good enough, stupid, lazy, pig. When I was in America, I did the same exercise, and I said, if you don't mind, you write down on the right hand side all the negative labels you've received. The class, the huge class, on a big and the rest of the world. Oh, look at me now. Why are you having post? I said, all the negative things, and I started labeling. I said, like stupid, not as good as, lazy. They're all going, we didn't hear those. I said, that must be an Irish thing. That must only be an Irish thing. Because we do that here very badly. It's getting a bit better, but like I'm an ambassador for Dyslexia Ireland, and I work with dyslexic children all the time. And someone said to me recently, the teacher said, that's not dyslexia, that's pure stupidity. I think, okay, we're not there yet, so in 2024, if someone said that to you, we're getting there, but we're not there yet, right? And what I'm trying to show people always, like, when we label, it's about us. It's the person labels. You know what I mean? It's not about the child. It's not about the label. It's just the person that makes sense in the context of the family. He's the academic. He's the musical one. He's the lazy one. He's the difficult one. I mean, families do that. Just think about yourself. What were you labeled? Any eldest daughters here? All right, the good daughter. Were you good? Are you still good? Very good. And I do a lot of work like this. I work with this area. That eldest girl particularly can be a particular problem, and I see it myself with my daughter about it. And I talk about this and I lecture about it, but I see it pulling me in. It's such a comforting thing for me to be able to have Hannah work and help me with the kids. And I can say to her, "You're so good, Hannah." And I'm like, "Oh Jesus, I'm doing it. I'm doing what I want to talk about. You're so good. The way you manage them, it's so manipulative because I want her to do it. And it's easy for me. And then you get roped in. You're the good daughter, and then you become the good wife. You become the good mother, and then you're the good mother, the good daughter again, because your parents are elderly, and then the kids are moving into adolescence. And by 47.2, the stats would say you're absolutely at your lowest peak of happiness. Right? There's lots going on there. 47.2 is most of the happy year. That's a big. The good news is the 50s and are much better. And those in their 60s are ecstatic altogether. So that's the good news. Here's some bad news. 15 is the worst year for adolescents. Second, have you ever noticed that? 15s were all troublous. This right bang there in the middle of that. If they get out of 15, 16, 17, they start to kind of form again into kind of, lovely things that were there earlier. But 15 is particularly problematic. Here's the bad news. Adolescence is lasting until about 25. And with the current housing crisis, they'll be with you for a while. They may even come back in their 30s married. So you want to get this parenting thing sorted out early. Just 2 more years. Now, so fear is an emotional response to a perceived threat. And we're hardwired. And this is the problem with the mental health promotion at the moment. This is the problem with the mental health promotion at the moment. I've never worked with one of these people. I've got very bad relationship with technology. We're hardwired to experience anxiety and stress. That's just the way the brain was not designed for us to feel elated all the time. It's not designed for us to be happy all the time. It's designed, the brain is an absolute problem-solving machine. That's all it was designed for. Solve up everything you hear is problem solving. The chair you're sitting on, the leaflet, the shoes you're wearing, the toothpaste you used this morning, everything in your life, even the little lanyard thing hanging off your neck there, everything is a problem solved. Right? That's the brain. It's looking for problems. Solve it. That's the way the brain is designed. We wouldn't be here as a species. If the brain was designed, let's relax and enjoy ourselves, we'd be dead. We would not have evolved as far as we got. We're thinking, oh, what's that over there? What's that over there? What the hell is that over there? That's the way the brain is designed, right? And so TikTok currently is telling our children they should be happy 24/7. And here's how you get happy 24/7. And nothing's going to be more antithetical to feeling happiness than someone saying, you should be happy all the time, and here's what you have to do. Just do these steps, and when you do them, then you'll be happy. You do the steps, and oh shit, I still feel a bit miserable here. What the hell is that about? Then you feel even more profoundly miserable because someone's saying, this is the steps to happiness. So we have to be very careful of the content our kids are consuming around those ideas. When young adolescents come into me a lot, I'd say on the scale of 1 to 10, how do you feel? Generally, they say 4. I'd say that's pretty good. I can say about what the hell? I'm missing 6. I said, that's good. 4 is pretty good. I mean, it's not terrible. And if we're being honest, it's probably the neutral space for all of us, around 4 or 5. I mean, if you were to think how am I today? I mean, I'm not late. I'm not feeling miserable. I'm in around the midway point. That's kind of where you are most of the time. When I said adolescence, that's kind of where we are mostly. 4 or 5, that's kind of good. That's good. I can see them kind of go, it's away. I can see them relaxing on themselves. It's okay so to feel like this and say it's okay to feel okay. Don't forget that phrase. I said, it's okay just to be okay. That's okay, right? And that's an important message for them because they're swamped with ideas about how they should be feeling all the time. And nothing exemplifies how we are currently in the selfie. It's all turning inwards, but not a deep inwards. It's a superficial thing. You know, and I see kids there. I live in Malahide. I see these school tours from Spain going over. They're walking past the Malahide Castle, which is beautiful. I can see them taking a selfie themselves now in the castle. Just a selfie. You know, they go, Jesus. The whole landscape behind them is just irrelevant to their selfie. And that exemplifies where we are with this stuff. And neuroscience will show us thoughts about self are statistically indistinguishable from negative emotions. The more you think about self, the more miserable you are. And I hear people on TikTok talking about, do a body scan, ask yourself every morning, oh, Jesus Christ, I always ask myself, how am I feeling now, Richard? How do you feel now? Are you feeling good? Are you feeling, was I better yesterday? You'd go around mid, you're like, seriously depressed. If you're body scanning every second of the day, thinking, how am I? How do I feel? The way out of depression, as I see it, is getting, and I work with this a lot, is getting something bigger than yourself, is working with your feeling a part, respect within your community. These things of resilience aren't things that are just eternal. This is a part of feeling connected to other things as well. Yes, there's ways of thinking and there's ways of dealing with like adversity and all that, but there's a sense of being connected to things. I mean, that is it. I mean, and that's not easily monetized. It's much easier to say, do this, and this. But really, the way out of depression is getting like, well, a sense of connection, a sense of self about yourself, a sense of meaning in your life, a sense of like being connected to your community and being valued within your community. And it's such an important thing. And I see the GAA are incredible, I find, when they work with adolescents and all that, and children, they're incredible in the community. They do incredible work in the community. I've done so raised by the villages. See the work the GAA we're doing? Isn't it incredible? You know, just the absolute connection to the community. And a lot of the kids that we work with loved the GAA, but had lost it over the years. And I said, we've got to keep our kids connected to things like that. So there's just an absolute lifeline. And if we're talking about resilience, that's where true resilience comes from. By believing that you're valued by people, believing that you're connected to your community respects you, and you're respectful of your community. That's ultimately, so important. Sorry, no. Okay, we'll go past that one. This is what I want to talk about next. So when we have a fear, when we're feeling low, we have 2 responses generally. We try to control it, which is the roots of obsessive thinking. You've got a kid at home or yourself maybe, who has to, thinks in rumination, cycles of thought that you can't stop. If you do things like, check the house a lot of times, you might have a kid, I work with this a lot, who checks under the bed a lot, who might need you to sleep with them. right? Or says things going around in their head a lot, that's control, and that's the roots, that's maybe the early warning shots of like, a bit of obsessive compulsive kind of stuff there. And if you think about it, the biggest problem the human brain has, it can solve nearly every problem we have. I mean, we had the pandemic solved before it even started. We had about, I don't know, hundreds of genomes in the fucking thing. Before it even got going, they were like thinking, like, how fast can we get this vaccine out? They had it figured out before it became a problem for us. It was figured out. It's never going to destroy us. Like, in public, they had a lot of understanding of things there, right? That's the human brain. But it has one massive problem that it can't solve. Anyone know what it is? Euro from the fund.
The question of consciousness.
Well, no, the consciousness, well, yeah, okay. But that's not the problem it can't solve.
Things
Things that are out of the exact, what are those? Well, that's true too. But the big problem that the brain can't solve is what will happen next.
Yes.
So what's going to happen next? Like a drop dead here. We don't know what's going to happen next. So the brain is constantly trying to figure out ways of coming to terms with this dilemma. Well, what will happen next? And children, particularly, but adults also, are really troubled by this. What the hell is going to happen next? And so I had a client there recently, last year, I heard her story actually in both of the starters. She allowed me to do it. She's a brilliant client. I mean, we don't actually talk about that clinicians. It can be really good fun working as in the clinic. We're really fun. Do you think it's going to be so negative all the time in the brain? It actually can be a lot of crap as well at the same time, right? So this woman came in, she was, I don't know, in her mid-40s probably, and she said to me she had a horrendous time. She just flown to New York with her husband for a holiday, and she kept her feet off the plane for 6.5 hours. She said, I believed if I touched the plane would crash. I was like, Jesus. And I said, okay, and what was your husband doing? She said, he was drinking away. Typical man. He was having a good old time for himself. And I said, what were you like? She said, I had my feet up. And I said, did you keep them up the whole time? Did you not put it? I said, I did put my rucks like a little bag under me, so I put my foot in the bag. I said, go to the toilet. She said, no, I didn't drink. So I didn't have to go to the toilet for 6 hours. She said, how did you get off the kind of plane? So we were going through this, and then she said, I ruined the holiday because I'm thinking about it all the way back. I was in New York, am I going to do this again? Am I going to do this again? Am I going to do this again? Just going around and ruminating. So I said, so you didn't enjoy the holiday at all? She said, no, I did not enjoy the holiday. I said, did you do it on the way back? She said, I did it on the way back. Okay. She said, here's the problem, though. I'm going to Lanzarote for his wedding next week or 4 weeks' time. She said, yeah, in 4 weeks' time. She said, I'm going to a friend's wedding in Lanzarote. And I said, okay. She said, what would you advise? I've worked with this exact issue for so many years, that control issue. I know exactly what it is, right? And I said to her, well, it's going to sound weird, okay? But there's theory behind what I said to her. I said, well, it'd probably be negligent of you to get on that plane and put your feet on the plane, because if it crashed, you killed everybody on the plane. And she was like, look, I'm going to go, I think your man for TV is nuts. I could see her going, this guy is not well. And I said, she said, are you prescribing that I do it? And I said, that's exactly what I do. Prescribing that you do it again. I could see her walking away kind of, she said, I don't know if I'm doing it. It's weird. Prescribe. And so 5 weeks later, she came back in and she said, I'm cured. I said, well, that's good, but you weren't sick to begin with. There was no illness there. And I said, you mind me asking, what happened? She said, well, I put my feet in the plane, relaxed, and glass of wine, great flight, no problem, had a great wedding, didn't think about it at all. And I said, do you mind me asking why you did that? She said, I want to prove you wrong. And I said, you weren't proving me wrong. I just gave you back your logic. She said, how do you mean? I said, I gave you back your logic. That was the logical one. If I put my feet on the plane with crash, I just gave it back to you. And you said, no, thank you. And so when our kids come to us, this kind of stuff, it's very calmly feed them back their logic. We leave it with them. Because the more we reassure them, you're not, don't worry, you'll stick tight, don't worry about sticking to the ground. The more you reassure them, the more you feed the thing. The more you give them back the logic calm thing, the more actually they respond to it. So what I'd say to them, when I meet with kids in this a lot, we have a lot of this going on, I'd say, I talk to them very calmly, very slowly, almost like hypnotic. I say, so you want control. I'd say, does the word control mean something to you? They all go, Jesus Christ, yeah, all I want is control. And what you're doing, are you getting control? I say, no. Says what you're doing giving you less control. Say absolutely my life is chaos. I have to tip this 50 times, and I have to check that 50 times, I have to go to my bed 50 times, and I have to say my prayers. Prayers are often the start of some of this stuff. I say my prayers, and I have to say my prayers 100 times, and then I go check on the bed again 100 times. I say that doesn't sound like control to me. Say no, that's not control. And say, well, here's what you have to say to yourself here now. So you have to take control of not having control. That gives you control. Let's say that again. So take control not having control. That gives you control. Because that woman in that play trying to get control when she had no control. Climate was controlled, the atmosphere was controlled, the engineering was in control, all of the technology was in control, she had no control. And so she was trying to exert control where she had no control. And so if you can take control of not having control, it moves you from this, I got to this position. Whether you keep your feet off the pen or not going to stop the pen from crashing. Right? So you can be there enjoying it, or you can be like this, like a ball of like trying to control it. And so if your child struggles with control, it's a huge problem. I work with a lot. And I would give them that little mantra, like, they'd have like, if I don't do this, something bad will happen. I hear teenagers say that to me a lot. If I don't say this repeatedly, someone in my life will die. And just kind of break that. That's a fear of like not having control. And this one is a huge thing. Avoidance. School refusal, one of the biggest issues for schools. And that's because of COVID, right? That's because of COVID, that we said stay at home, don't bother going to school. We completely disrupted their sense of concrete norms. Now they're kind of going, I don't have to go to school, do I? And I said to parents always, be careful giving a note. My daughter's often coming to me for a note and tell me how stressful their lives are. They've been at scouts all morning and that, they need a note to get their homework. And I would always say to them, you're not getting a note. And like, Jesus, give me a note. And I'm like, you're not getting a note. Right? And the reason for that is, it's the start. I work with schools and principal and all that. It is the start of like, it starts at this. Jane doesn't want to do Irish. Jane couldn't do her Irish homework last night. Physics student Jane for her Irish homework. Jane doesn't want to do her Irish homework. Jane couldn't do her Irish. Starts like that. And then it's like, Jane doesn't want to do Irish. We want to get Jane out of Irish. We're looking to get Jane out of Irish. And it's like, we can't get Jane to school currently. Can you help us with Jane? And so you've got to be very careful. In psychology, it's called a positive feedback loop. It's the thing that you use to satiate yourself. That speed positive means rate of growth. That speeds up massively. So when you stay at home, in that moment, it's like all that anxiety, whatever you were worried about, there's gone. That's the problem. Because you feel good in that moment. So when you think about school, you get anxious, and when you stay at home, you feel good. And all of a sudden, you shrink your life down into like not thriving, not only just about existing. And adolescents, particularly, like, and again, a lot of the ideas of trying to control, they live up in their bedroom. That's all knowable to them, and it's all controllable to them. And that's not living to me. That's not a child thriving. That's a child terrified of the world there, with no memories of being able to manage the world. And so is living up in this tiny space. That's not good for a child. So you're trying to get them to avoid avoidance at all costs. I had a student come to me who was in junior cert 2 years ago in the middle of lockdown and COVID. And one of the teachers had shown a video of something around COVID, and there was blood in it, and the kid collapsed and fainted in the class. And brilliant student now, and the parents contacted me about 4 weeks this was going on. The parents contacted me and said, look, will you meet with us? And you talk to my son, he's a brilliant student, but he's really struggling at school at the moment. That's okay. In the clinic, they came into the clinic, and I said, tell me what's happening. He said, well, this is what happens. The teacher showed a video, and there was blood in it, and it was like blood. He fainted, and now he's terrified of the fainting, but with last faints, and so he's not going to school. And I said, okay, do you want to go to school? He goes, I absolutely want to go. I'm in the middle of my junior cert, sort of like towards the end of September, October. Then I know, and I want to get back into school. And I said, so what are you doing currently? And we're driving up around the school. We're parking around the car park there, on the side, and then we're having a big argument, and then we all drive off back home again stressed. I was like, okay, what used to do? I said, well, just call him John. So I said, well, John used to walk. I said, okay. Like, do you want to get this out of your life pretty quickly, John? He said, I absolutely do. I was a brilliant kid to work with. I was like, do you really want to get this out of your life? I was like, I do. I said, well, you're going to have to follow what I say to you. So, okay. So the next 2 weeks, if I see you again, pull up in front of the school, Mom. I was like, you open the door, you get out, you drive off. You don't stop, you don't wait. If anyone's got a child here, school refusing, and you drop to school, and you're walking with the child, and then you stand there and them. Big problems there. Because if that kid, which they will do, look around to see his mom or dad, there. And if they see you kind of going, is he going to go in? Big problem. Because you're reinforcing the idea, I don't think you have it. Because we're worried you won't be able to manage this. So our body language and how we act for our children is such a massive part. And so if you got your child and walk away, they look back and they see you walking off a message, they believe I can handle this. Right? Now, and so John and I said, look, we're going to have to get out of the car for 2 weeks. And I said, it'll be painful. I said, think about this now. Because I always work with images with teenagers. I said, when you cut your hand and it bleeds, let's say it's deep enough that it bleeds, and then it coagulates, the blood starts to kind of gather and all that, gets a bit itchy, doesn't it? I said, yeah. I said, well, you have a dilemma here. What's the dilemma? He said, well, I can itchy it, and it goes a bit deeper and it has to grow back again. So then it's going to get itchier again, isn't it? Then you're going to keep going, and it's probably going to be a scar. I said, do you want a scar? If we didn't itchy it, it would be probably gone very quickly. Okay, I said, no. When you feel that, what you're going to feel, and describe it from red stick to stone, that's the scab there. Let that be there. Don't itchy it. Itching it, staying at home. Don't itchy it. Don't itchy the scab. It's by giving that phrase. They know in the midst of like hot cognition, and they get that idea. Don't itchy the scab. It's something to hang on to. Right? Something clear from them to hang on to. And so he came back. He said, he said, yeah, that was pretty awful for the first couple of days. I felt really crap. I said, but you notice anything? Because I did actually by the second class, I felt okay. I said, well, there's great news. He said, actually, by the second week, it wasn't really an issue. I said, no, for the next 2 weeks, you're going to walk to school, and that's going to be the exact same thing. And do it and see how you get on. So we went up again 2 weeks, and the whole thing had been found in his life. Right? Because he exposed himself to the thing that was causing him to have a fear. When we have a fear, we have two responses: control, overthinking, obsessive, or avoidance, phobic. They're two responses. And with avoidance, the huge thing is, yourself, if you've been out of work for a week or two, like you build it up in your head, everyone's going to be talking about me, you're all going to be asking me, where were you, and what was wrong with you? You're going to know, and actually, you're going to go, what the hell was all that stuff I was worrying about there? But the more you stay out, the more you avoid it, the more it becomes this massive thing. Now imagine when you're 15 and your brain isn't that well developed yet, it's a huge thing. And everything is designed around fear. So it's like we've got to help them with this, because that's their default is avoidance. And I would say always avoid avoidance at all costs. And again, just if we're looking at resilience, it's not about, I carried out a piece of research there in 2018 when I was writing that book, Parenting the Screenager. I went around to about 25 schools, and I interviewed hundreds of students around the idea of technology, pornography, and resilience. There were the three things I was looking at. Let's see what's going on in their world with all these major issues. And resilience, what I found with resilience was that there's no resilient gene. There's good thinking. It's kind of, there's better thinking, more optimistic, positive thinking. And then there's more negative and, quite pessimistic thinking. And those two different mindsets really make it to be resilient, not being resilient. Right? And so it's not that one child is born with an abundance of resilience. It's that when they have an adversity, they say to themselves, like, I was grand yesterday, today shy, tomorrow I'll be grand again. That's how a resilient kid kind of thinks. A kid, when I was interviewing them who wasn't resilient, would say things like, I missed a penalty, but I'm absolutely shy of football. Right? I had a fight with mom, nobody lost me. So they take out small thing and they make it the gestalt. They take out one small, they selectively abstract a small event like a fight with mom, and that becomes the whole. And what you're trying to help them with, if you're a child who has got low levels of resilience, is to reframe things. You're trying to push their mind to more of an optimistic understanding of how to justify it. Everyone fights. As I said to my own children, it's such an important thing. Everyone fights, right? Everyone has arguments. I think we're getting the message also that as parents we have to be perfect. Don't we? You want to be a clinical psychologist, have to be a parent of your child? It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And sometimes parents come to me, they're so guilty, like, I had a fight with John last night. I'm like, yeah, good. John needs to know that people sometimes are hungry and sometimes people are tired. And when you say something cheeky, John, you might get bitten a little bit by mom or dad. That's life. You know what I mean? And that's, if they go off into the world and they've lived this sort of like Disney life, their boss or someone in their job who's quite manipulative or sneaky or aggressive or particularly passive aggressive, they won't know what to do with themselves and they'll collapse under it. It's really important because it's funny because my little daughter is a bit precocious and I just shut up and I say, turn off the light, whatever. I scream at them and she's like, there's Ireland's leading psychotherapist guys screaming at us. I'm like, yeah, too right, I'm screaming at you, turn off the fucking lights, right? And, because it's important for them to see that. And then when I argue with them and give out to them, how you resolve it is so important. If you're just screaming at your kids and worrying at your kids, that's going to damage the sense of self. But if you're having an argument with children, you raise your voice from time to time. My youngest daughter would say, you're raising your voice and be like 6. And I'm thinking, you should have lived my life, John. You should have lived down in Cork with the parents I had. You would know raising voices. So you don't like to pitch your voice there? I mean, it's mad, and it's like, well, you have to have that kind of stuff in your family dynamic because that's normal life. And when they go off into the world and they meet people who are difficult, they'll be able to deal with it. And that's one of our kind of rules as parents, that we teach them how to manage themselves, but have confidence in themselves. That's a crucial thing. And how you get confidence is about how you resolve conflict with them. And sometimes when I do wrong, and I say it to them afterwards, say, I shouldn't probably say that to you, I'm sorry about that. But I'll tell you, I was hungry and I was tired and I came in and I was staying in the place and that's what got me like that. But probably shouldn't have said that to you and I'm sorry about that. So you're showing them, look, people have conflict and that's okay. But I say that to them as well. And I appreciate when you say that to me. So I know that I would fit a bit of guts to say that to me and I appreciate that. So what I want is 3 daughters, I don't want them to be pushovers. I don't want them to be too soft and have a lack of self-agency. I want them to be strong enough. When I say this a lot, I say this publicly. I want my daughters to have compassion, but I also want them to have teeth. You know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? I want them to say no. They don't want to do something, I want them to say no. Right? Because I work with so many teenage girls with that. What do you want with them? And you want to say I was allowed to what he liked me and all that. I was like, this is what you have to have. When you're giving your kids whatever. You want to do something, you don't do it. And when you're arguing with me, I'm not annihilating that argument. I'm listening to it and going, right, that's not a bad argument, but that's not happening. But I like the arguments. So what you're doing is you're giving them a sense of themselves. Here's a few things that I would. Oh, Jesus. The modeling is a hugely significant part of your child's understanding of themselves. I was asking, how do your children see you stressed? When you're running for work and you can't find the keys, what do they see? Do they see you like I saw my parents, my father particularly, turning the couch over, smiting God, for upsetting him. God was somehow finding where the keys were, and screaming at God there. That's what I saw for a couple of years of my young adult life, from about 16 to 18. I probably did the same when I was looking for my golf clubs or whatever. I did that for a little bit because I was modeled it, and then I was thinking, I don't know if that's actually helpful at all, finding anybody golf clubs. Right? I figured it out myself. So think about it. How are you with your animals? What do you like? What? Describe that.
I don't know, when you wake up in the morning and things aren't exactly where you put them and you're just you get mired, just the day, you figure it out, you're struggling to figure it out. You're but I have said to my kids, do not talk to me, or I do not actually communicate until I've had a couple of teas. Do not come near me. So a lot of the time I have the tea and then the papers.
They give you the tea?
Yeah.
We figured you out. Tea, 20 euro please? But modeling is such a huge thing. How you react when the cognition is not is such an important thing. The way I would always describe it is like this. I give the image of the tiger in the car park, right? When you go into the zoo and you see the tiger in front of you, because of the glass, you're not under threat, right? So you don't go, Jesus Christ, tiger, and run. Because you're in the zoo. All the context of the zoo is there in front of you. You're in Dublin Zoo and you can see all the animals and you're not terrified. If I go out to the car park and that same tiger is standing next to my car, my brain is going to have a serious reaction to that. And so how you react, it's like how you react with teaching your child how to understand the context of their stress, or the tiger in the car park. You get what I mean by that now? So how you react. So what I do, I've been doing this for years. I'm heading off somewhere, and I just do it when a couple of them cognition is cold. I say, can't find the car keys, guys. Anyone know where the car keys are? And I can see them going, he's up to something. I know he's up to something with voodoo stuff there. I go upstairs and where's the car keys? They must be my pants. And I say this out loud, they're my pants from last week, I think. No, they're not there. They're not. Really listening to me going downstairs. I say, well, who's he talking to? And then I come downstairs and say, maybe they're in my jacket. Where I think they're in my jacket from last night. No, I can't. They're not there either. Actually, I know where I put them. They're in the press. They're like, well done, dude. Fantastic. But next week when they're looking for their neckers for scouts, I will hear the same thing. Where did I leave the necker last week? I will hear them working through the little process. Is it up in my bag from the scouts last week? Right? And so that's really important that you teach them. Because if I go, Jesus, that's the tiger in the car park. Your cognition goes well, and then you're kind of like screaming and roaring. And so you're teaching them, when you get anyway stressed, act like the tiger in the car park. And that's how you resolve it. I say, no, that's not how you resolve anything that's when you're stressed. You got to actually think a little bit colder. You're not, you got to good. Where did I put it, and how do I deal with it? And okay, and I'm under pressure, but I need to figure this out. And that's modeling is such an important part. And as I said earlier at the start, removing obstacles is the killer of resilience. Think about resilience as like an understanding of overcoming adversity. Think about the memories and all that stuff. Promote, I would say, always with children, healthy risk taking. As in, like, go to the school play, push yourself a little bit, disturb your little universe. So what you're trying to do is give them more memories and more memories and more memories, a broader memory, a bigger memory, a bigger memory, a bigger memory. So that they got when they think about themselves, they can manage all of this stuff ahead. Right, and that's kind of taking risks and going for things. Because children, teenagers particularly, are terrified of failure. I think this cohort, more than ever, are more scared of failure than ever before. That they're very fearful of not landing on something and not achieving something. And so the way I describe it, I say, like, so you're fearful of failure, so you don't want to reach for the thing that you'd like to go for. So you're constantly rejecting yourself from the thing that you're fearful that you might get rejected from, but you're bringing about the outcome for yourself that you don't actually want to have. Jesus Christ, what the hell does that mean? I say to them again, I say, so you're fearful of failure. Do you want to go for this thing? I said, school play. You want to go for the school play, but you're fearful that you won't get the lead or whatever it is you want. And so you reject yourself from the school play, and therefore you're bringing rejection into your life the whole time. How does that feel? They're like, Jesus, well, yeah, I didn't think of it like that. So maybe if you actually went for it and had a bit of courage, and you mightn't get it, but at least you had the courage to go for it. You know, and it's such an important thing. I have a lot of students who come to me, you know, in the second year, saying, I want to go for scholars. And say, well, that is brilliant. Go for bloody scholars. I mean, it's better if you mightn't get it. Go for it. Now, when I meet them after, they're a bit disappointed. I say, that's you're missing this thing completely. That you had the courage to go for it. That's what's important. You don't know what the percentages there were where you sat with that thing. I've gone for things, didn't get it. I've got when things got it. That's just life. But if you're going to pull yourself back and not go for things because you're fearful, that's not living a full life. That's actually living a fearful life. Trying to teach children go for things. You get it, you don't get it. That's kind of like whatever. But at least you have the courage to go for stuff. Go for stuff because the more you go for it, the more you get. Stuff that you don't go for, you can never get. And it's so important for them. That's resilience. But they go for it, they don't get it, they're going to go, oh, I'll go again. I'll go for something else next time, right? And when you actually think about it in your life, that's what I'm always saying to teenagers. If life went, if I could say to you, I can accurately predict your life for you, it'd be the most boring life you're ever going to experience. If everything you want comes into your life the way you want it to into your life, that would be pretty dull. You know, for me, it's all, when I say to them, it's the stuff you did not expect. It's the stuff that you weren't ever even thinking about that comes into your life. That's where they come over. The joy is. Optimism is a huge thing. Embracing mistakes, reframing is hugely significant to improve your child's thinking around, you know, when they fall short. Framing. It's a learning moment. It's like what Bill Gates says, success of a very poor educator. He's absolutely, do we learn from the times when we get it right? No. We really recalibrate when you get it. How can I get that now? What do I need to do to bring that into my life? That's where you reframe. It's not a failure. It's a learning moment. It's a learning moment. That's good. That's a learning moment. It's not a failure. They've been drenched in, I'm a failure. I let my family down. I didn't get that. That's such the wrong way to look at it. It's just a bit of a learning moment. And again, it feels bad and all that. But you've had the courage to go for it. And role playing, obviously, depending on the age of your child. That twice. Oh, sorry. What's stuff at the side of it?
Just go.
See how you do this, Richard.
I'm going to get stressed here. Stop screaming at us. We are stuck. Just do this one repeatedly. Does anyone know? Don't worry. Oh. You notice I do stress? Sinead had the competency. Sinead hadn't out of blame. Sinead. Janine, is it? Sorry. Okay. So, sorry, Janine, for calling Janine. This is something I would say always with your children to be spontaneous. A little bit spontaneous. Because their lives can be so regimented and routine and regulated and rigid. Spontaneity is such an important thing. My wife always gives out to me when I talk about this from on radio about being spontaneous. Because it's such an important thing. But what I used to do when they were younger, when I was walking to primary school, I'd say, if we weren't going to school today, guys, what would we be doing? And we'd say, can we go somewhere else besides school? I'd say, yeah, we can. What would you actually do? We go to Bray. And I'd say, let's go to Bray for this one. Now, my 13-year-old partner says to me recently, we go to Bray. Like, no, we can't go to Bray. Those Bray days are gone, kid. Now the junior cycle here. But what I was doing there early on was kind of disrupt that fear of like the unknown, that fear of that desire towards control, that you can actually manage when things don't go exactly how you plan, that you get excited by those kind of things. And that was a positive legacy for my own childhood because my parents kind of like my father was a journalist at the Times, hippies in some ways. And so when it was sunny in Cork, which unfortunately wasn't too often, they'd say, let's forget about school and go to the beach. And they were incredible days when you're 6 or 7 years of age. You know, everyone else is in school and you're at the beach swimming. That's an incredible feeling to have. And I said, I'm going to give my kids that feeling from time to time. I'd say no more than 5 times over the year. Well, I'd say one time. You do it once. That's enough. Just say it once. So I did it once over the school year. About 5 times, to be honest. Or sometimes my daughter would say to me, "Will, you must be out of school today." She'd want me to come in and take her out. I'd take once, I'll bust you out. Where are we going? And she'd say, "Let's just go down to the village and get pancakes." And say, "Okay, so well." And go into school and say, and she was thinking we talked to the principal, said, "Lizzie's grandparents are here, we're taking her around." And I'd bring her down to the village and have like pancakes and then to her grandparents and meet them. But it's excitement. It's like breaking off. I wouldn't be doing it all the time though. But it's just a little bit of like routine kind of break. Just to show that you can exist outside following the rules all the time. Just like keeping up with parents, it's a huge problem. Dinner time being a separate activity. Everyone's on a different room. Similar technology. Nothing is more. I mean, you're going to look back from your family time. That's such a short period. I'm beginning to see it now. And I've been writing about this for so many years. And I see it with my daughter who turned 13 this year. And I saw it with her. Once she got her phone, it's like, it's a different world. You know, and I've been writing about it for so long. And I said to parents, I didn't have a teenager at the time. I'd say, it's about being together differently for this period. Now I hear myself saying in my own head, it's about being together differently in this period, Richard. And it is about being together differently. It's about you're not going to have the same relationship you had when they were that kid looking up to you, like who were all knowing of this kid something, but then now she's looking at going, what the hell do you know about things? And that's just that piece of adolescence from that period. And it's hard. There's a little bit of feels like loss. And I remember writing about this so many times. I talk to parents say it's not loss trying to do it like that. It's about being together differently. And I felt the loss this year, and I was saying, well, it's not loss, it's about being together differently. I said, that helped me a little bit, but you still feel it. Because she was once a fiber part of your life, and now she's like, just a couple of steps behind me, please. And it's hard. But again, technology at dinner time, they need respite. I have a charity in the Philippines, and I bring students every year over to work with the Agile tribe in Davao. We've built a school there. We help girls out of poverty and begging and all that kind of stuff to educate them, break the cycle of poverty. And every year we go over now in 5 weeks' time with about 10 students, past students from the Institute of Education. And we say to them when they go over, there's no technology for these students. And they all buy into it. Because they know me for so long, they know there's going to be no technology now. And there's no technology here. And within the first day they hand over the phones, within the first couple of hours, they're just chatting around the whole chatting for you, then interrogating cards, chatting. And when I ask them at the end, you know, what was the best part of that experience, they'll always say, working with the Badger are just the most amazing tribe. They're just incredible. With this seafaring tribe that live just above the shoreline there in Davao, above the Pacific. And they're a very small community, about 700 of them. And I've been working with them for about 18 years, so I know some of them since they've been like born. You know, I've done them, they're 18 now, I know some, they're 20 something. And in 2019, three members of the tribe came over to myself and my family and lived with us in Malahide for 3 months. Again, lived with my family. It's just an incredible experience. It was just like this incredible mutual kind of cultural experience. And they would live very different lives than us, very connected lives, right? They don't have a word for suicide in their dialect. They live these incredibly connected lives. And when the teenagers come over and work with us, like, you know, I would say from Dublin, at the end I'd say from what was the most incredible experience, they'd say working with the Badger, because they're so funny. I mean, they're just remind me of Cork. They're so self-effacing, and you know, they're just hilarious. When I went there first 20 years ago, my name is Mr. They name you as they see you, I think, right? So my name has progressed over the years. Started off, I have to say, I'm quite proud of this one, Mr. Guapo, Mr. Handsome. I was like, I agree with you. And then it was, I picked up one of the kids one day, who were my first day working with them. They're called Badjo, which translates to sea gypsy. I threw them into the water, and the child started to drown. It was 6 years. I mean, you know, I'm used to messing around throwing kids in the water, and the kid started to kind of like not swim. I was like, what the hell? I dived in, picked the kid up, and like, they're like, you're dangerous. My name is Mr. Dane, then for a couple of years. And then when I brought some of them to Ireland, they're like, you can do everything. You're Mr. Everything. And that 2 years ago, they started calling me a new name, Mano. It means old man. It's terrible. And I stopped like, Mano, like, yeah. Like, old man. And I'm responding to it. It's just terrible. But when the kids, when I'm interviewing the kids at the end of the trip, they say that working with the Badgers is the most incredible thing. I'd say, what's the next most incredible thing? They say, no technology. Having no technology was so a release. Then I give them back the phones, they fall right back into their phone again. And that's it. So we have to embed this into our everyday activity with our children. We're going to have to embed this into our children. The dinner is like that sacred place where we come to chat. That the bedroom isn't allowed where the device is all I want. It's too powerful. It really is. I look at my daughter's phone in the morning. I ring her and check her phone. I say, who the hell is that guy? I say, who's he? He came off your gun. I say, once you have Snapchat, anyone can friend you and say, who is Mario 58 there? She say, I don't know. I said, block it. I do that a lot with her. I said, block that. Blocked. In fairness, but she wouldn't open the messages. I say, what's all that? She says, someone's messaging me. Just delete it, don't even open it. She's going to get sensitive. She was there. There's no doubt about it. 13-year-old girl. She's going to get sensitive. That's just the way it is. But I see it when I look at her phone. Her classmates are texting her, sending her snaps at like 4 o'clock in the morning. And teenagers I work with would say that they wake themselves up. They'd set an alarm to wake themselves up, to send something or go on a streak. So when they go into school, they'll be like, oh, Jesus, Sandra was awake all night last night. And Sandra's like, yeah, no, I was awake. And it's got a little bit of currency amongst them. Do you ever sleep, Sandra? No, I'm always on my phone all night. Like, no, you got to take that out of their room. And when I was writing home for Parenting the Screenager, I interviewed about 25 schools, about 500 students. And I'd interview the students in the morning, fifth class, 6th class, and then first and 6th year. And I'd say to them, I was going to meet your parents tonight. What don't you want me to say to them? I'd say, please, Richard, don't tell them to take the devices and the games out of the bedroom. I'd say, thank you, guys. And then when I meet the parents, I'd say, look, your kids are lovely. They gave me advice. They told you to take the games out of the bedroom. I can't manage it. It's too powerful. You have to ask yourself, who has the issue with the game or the device? You're leaving it up there. It's pacifying them. Nothing pacifies them. Nothing pacifies a child like giving them an iPad, right? I mean, you give an iPad to a child, they stop moaning and complaining and at you in the restaurant or whatever, just give it to them, they're gone into it. Again, it's comfortable, but you have to ask yourself, that little bit of discomfort, that quick comfort, let's say, what's happening there? Be careful of that. I'd say, again, when I meet the child, who just needs in my meeting, jeez, we're going back to
Yeah, it's just There, yeah.
Yes.
What's she doing?
Keep pressing, keep pressing.
Yeah, perfect.
Yes.
Thank you. That's the image of the cross of the road, though. That's the image you've been saying for a long time about think about your child, how how you teach them the cross road. If you teach them the wrong way, they're going to be standing there terrified. And having resilience, it simply means that you've got coping skills. That's all it is. Good thinking. That's all it is. Having good thinking when the chips are down and you feel a bit stressed, having good thinking there, teaching them when their cognition is cold. There's no point having a fight or shouting at your child when they're when they're worked up. It's when they're calmed down from that, when the cognition isn't hurting normal, that's when you start to put the good thinking in. When you act like that and say, you slam the door and say, well, if the door can speak, you slam it, what would it say? I'm frustrated. Okay, and so do you think the door when you slam it like that says that? You get more trouble for slamming the door? I'd always be asking the question. And why don't you say I'm frustrated? Why don't you express that rather than slamming the door? Right, so you're trying to help them to have better the next time they get frustrated. Trying to get them that they don't slam the door. And when they don't slam the door, then you reinforce and say, I'm very proud of you there, that you didn't slam the door, you didn't tell me to whatever it is. You didn't shout at me there. So you're helping them out of their behavior. Such an important part of building resilience, giving them good thinking, and just with questions, helping them out of it. And here's the words, just quickly, we're going to go through this word. How much time have I got, man? How many time?
10.
What time am I done, man? 10 minutes. Okay, I'll go through this really quickly. So is that the big issue for all of us? Isn't it? I was interviewed by Ireland Day after a couple of months ago. It was my 13-year-old's birthday. And we were going to Power Sport for the night for her birthday. And Ireland Day asked me would I put into a thing about technology detox. I said, yeah, well, it's on the way to Power Sport, so I'll stop off. And I said to the lads, my wife of kids were with me, I said, look, you want to come in or do you want to wait in the car or whatever? They said, no, it's good to go in. And then they were sitting in the green room, and when Hannah came in, there was a girl sitting there, and I was like, Jesus, God, that's Miriam. I never heard this girl's name in my life before. She's like, that's Miriam Mullins. I was like, okay. She's like, she's stunning. Yeah, she was like some TikTok influencer. She's like, oh my God, Dad, I can't believe she's sitting there. She was like, Paul McCartney was sitting there. And I was like, oh my God, she's so stunning. I was like, Hannah, you see yourself? You're also stunning, right? That's teenagers, first of all. Everybody else is stunning. Not them, right? Everybody else is stunning. And then the producer said, do you want to come in and see Dad's interview? And they were kind of like, not really. But anyway, so they came in, and on the screen it had, I was talking, I've been interviewed by Martin, yeah. And he was asking me a couple of questions, and I saw the camera, and it said, parents set the technology policy, the culture and family. And then the camera swung over to my gang sitting there. Figure out my wife, and the head daughter, 13, with it this. And I was like, well, that's good, for people to see, because I'm in there with everybody else. My skin is in this game too. And, we walked on, and I was like, for 10 minutes, you couldn't have the phone out of your hand. And she was like, well, I wasn't looking at it, I just had it in my hand. I was like, it's interesting, you couldn't sit there for 10 minutes without having it in your hand. She was like, yeah, I was like, well, you've exposed me to the hypocrite, Hannah, thank you very much. So that's all of us, right? Anyone who says to them that my family is perfect, don't listen to them, right? That's all of us in this game. I mean, it's a difficult one because these things are so powerful, right? I'm not touching it. This is the huge problem with teenage. I think currently to be a teenage girl is a miserable experience, right? I think it's very difficult because comparison, here's the peak of joy, and everything that they do has been shown up in TikTok. Exclusion is a huge problem. It's such a problem in school because when I was a kid, if the lads were down playing football and WGA pitch, I wouldn't see it. And now with TikTok and Instagram and with Snapchat particularly, the image goes up there. You're sitting at home, all the girls down in Starbucks having a coffee or wherever they are. You're at home, they haven't asked you. That stuff has been fun. That is really fun. And psychologically, neuroscience, all that will explain what that is. that actually is physical hurt. The same part of the brain fires. And then if I hit my hand with a hammer,
No, I was going to say, we open up for a few questions,
Yeah.
maybe, just in case we're up and.
no worries, yeah, okay, no worries, man. And please ask a question if you want at any point. But if I hit my hand with a hammer, the dorsal portion of the anterior cingulate cortex, is a region of the brain, will signal and tell me I've injured myself. The same part of the brain fires when you're excluded. So you literally feel pain. Do you remember those days when you broke up with someone? Remember? It physically hurt, right? Or when you didn't get invited to something, some party was on, you didn't get invited to it. You know what I mean? Let's just say if you were leaving here in a minute and you look and you went past, you saw myself from all this side of the crowd in a bar having a drink, you drove back and go, no one invited us to that. It would physically, you'd feel that's a bit weird. You'd feel weird about it. Your body would react, and so that's an evolutionary thing. So there's a real reason for that. And so currently they're being excluded left, right, centre with Snapchat and TikTok. Snapchat particularly. You know, I was with Commission a Man. You know who they are? The people writing the legislation. You know, they invited me to meet them on Friday, on Wednesday. Because I'm writing about it and speaking about it all the time. So basically, they're going to just stop, hear what we're doing, and they were trying to show me that, you know, what they were doing there. I mean, these are mothers and dads trying to write legislation. I mean, it's not like they're malevolent or bad, or they're trying to do their best, but they're up against it because these tech companies are massively powerful. The revenue that they're generating here is like dwarfing states. I mean, it's just gigantic, but that doesn't mean that they can be above the law, right? But they're currently above the law. They're currently regulating themselves. So it's like we have to have good legislation to protect our children. Because most of your child, how many of us have teenagers with phones? Most of us. I hate to say this, but they will consume pornography. It's not that if, it's they will. They will consume pornography. It's embedded into every aspect. And these companies like Snapchat, particularly, when I was young, if a product wanted to get to me, they'd have to go to Bosco, you know, and my parents. They'd advertise in Bosco time because that's what the kids were, and that's what the parents were. So they'd have to make it kid friendly. And think about Snapchat. Your messages delete. That's making it teenage friendly. That's like screw the parents. We're going around us parents and going straight for our children. So we have to be stronger with this stuff. And it's not just benign. I work with so many cases. I mean, I can give you case after case. I work with the guardianship on all these issues as well. And I work with schools around these issues. So sleeping technology, if you look at this stat, if you get 9 hours, you're 67% more likely to have good mental health. Essentially, if you can cure one thing, Richard, you know, across the species, having a good night's sleep would be one of the major things I would think about. We've got a good night's sleep, we can deal with it. Currently, children are having very bad sleep because of technology. You've got 8 hours, 62%, 7 hours, 44, 6 hours, 27, and they're getting less than 6 hours. So you've got 15% less likely to have good mental health. That's a staggering statistic there. And it should be something that we should say to ourselves, they should not have their phone in the bedroom. It's too powerful. Just not have the phone in the bedroom. And they will say to you, so they say, it's my alarm. And you just go, here's your alarm. Here's the clock. Right? And I listened to my own daughter, who's going to secondary school. She was like, I'm going to use my phone as my alarm. She was trying to see, she was trying to test the boundary. I was like, no, you won't. She's like, but I need to wake up. I said, don't you worry, I won't be for you anyway. I can wake you up if you need me, but here's your alarm. I had it ready to go. Right? And this is a huge problem. Sleep disruption is a huge problem. So we just need good policy around it. Advice is backing the following aspects, no doubt about it. They're missing out on human connection. Their problem solving is eroded. Less contact with peer group. Less contact with when I say about resiliences, peer group, community, something outside themselves, feeling connected. And so all of that's becoming diminished. And staying up later, real life activities are seen as boring, and sleep patterns are being disrupted. That's a huge thing. But honestly, I don't know if you've heard me talking about pornography. Have you heard me talking about that? It's something that I'm just constantly talking about when I get a chance to talk about it, because I work with it so much. You know, schools, and I see the devastation in couples, and I see what teenagers. You know, I would say I have a lot of teenage boys coming to my clinic to talk to me because they want to get off pornography. They know they have a problem with it, and they hear me talking about it, and they come to me to see how can they get off it. It's a serious, serious problem. Because pornography today is not like what it used to be. It's hardcore, extreme material. And currently, there's no legislation in place to stop a child from consuming. And so they're consuming, this is the way it works, see. They're very clever psychologists helping these industries to make products that are actually addictive and, driving dopamine, all that. So pornography has had to go more extreme to keep people trafficking it. And so the last couple of years, say 10 years ago, it was all this kind of violence, BDSM kind of stuff. Now, if you look at it, and I unfortunately sit down and I have to go through this stuff, different groups, you see it's about stepsisters, stepdads. So it's becoming more, it's moving into taboo stuff, really taboo stuff to keep that thing firing. And so you have to imagine if you've got a stepfather in your family and you're consuming pornography, it's giving kids terrible messages. I work in a school where a senior infant has consumed hardcore extreme material. And when senior infant. So you have to be careful, really careful about when they get these things, about the safeguards that you have in place. And the age that they're logged onto their iPad without question. And I hate to say that, but that's the reality of it. And a huge story that I've seen in the last 3 years is cousins coming into the family who are a bit older and showing their younger cousin who was 8 or 9 pornography, trying to show off. They're 12 or 13, trying to show off to the younger cousin. Look what I consumed, look what I did. And that's the end of innocence. I mean, you don't get that back. And we have to protect our children from that. And while we're waiting for the government to come up with really good policy, we have to be really strong as parents. I had a petition there on my Instagram. If you want, you can sign it for me. So the minute I put that petition up, I got invited to the government. So these things actually have power, and when they see people signing them, it has power. So we have a lot more power than we think. And it's once we sign the petition, we drive that, we're telling the government, we want you to take action here because our kids are struggling and they're suffering. And we have Anna Kriegel's case there, we're in Dublin. Her friend, her classmate, boy A in particular, consumed bestiality and BDSM. That's all bondage and consent taking and choking and spitting. And then they murdered their classmate. And go, well, it's not like we need any more evidence to show us that this stuff damages not everybody who consumes, but not everybody who drinks beer is going to be an alcoholic. But if there's a vulnerability in there, there's something in there of a vulnerability, it can really warp it, and we have to really stand strong on that one. And when Woman of Man invited me in, I was like, no, they're invited me in because I keep saying it. Jesus, Jane, want to be done now?
You're pressing the wrong arrow.
I can't take responsibility. Oh God, from this. I have a very bad relationship with technology.
There's none. Work on it.
I did. My wife said to me, better when he killed me.
No, you're.
Now, so friendships are a huge part of that they have to build to kind of have a sense of self and resilience. Relationships teach children to cope with challenges. I mean, that's a huge part. Same part of brain fires when they're excluded. Positive reinforcement of social activity is vital. But if you've got kids moving from primary school into secondary school, I'd say as a little tip always, widen their friendship group because they often go with one friend. And I would work with that a lot. Without one friend lets them down, they make a cooler group, and then they're having their lunch in the toilet on their own because they don't want to be in the canteen sitting there on their own. So you got to make sure that you widen out their friendship groups. I did this myself with Hannah when she was moving. She was playing hockey, she was in scouts, she was in all these different things. And then I couldn't keep up with who her friends were. And I was like, who the hell is your group of friends? She's like, it's all of them, Dad, all of them. I was like, well, that's brilliant. Because of course there's a little rupture in the friendship group. She just bounced over to another group. Then there's a little fight in that group. She bounced back to another group. But if you're relying on one friend, you can be in real trouble there. Do you have a technology policy in the family? Do you have that? I would say that's what you need. And I'd say for everybody, teenagers particularly go heightened sense of hypocrisy. And if you're get off your phone there, John. You're on your phone. And they say, when you're on your phone, this is what I hear. I hear this play out in front of me. They say, Dad, if you're on your phone all the time, Dad would say, that's my emails from work. I know that. They're infinite scrolling Instagram. I see you. And so that's, you have to be careful that you have a policy for everyone, not just for John's gaming behavior, for everybody. And make it get them involved. The best thing there for gaming is to get, especially if you've got a son, get them involved in the actual policy. We say, well, we're all deciding, we're all going to this family. How much time do you want to spend in your game? Now, you've got in your head, he's going to get 40 minutes, right? But you know, how much time would you like in your game? We say 2 hours a night. We say, no, you're only going to get 20 minutes a night. It's not. You're going to negotiate him back up to 40 minutes, so he feels like he's won something, but you know, you really won, right? But he thinks he won it. And so that's just a little bit of negotiating with him, just to get buy-in, right? I mean, that's a good part. And it's not that these devices are evil by themselves, or that technology is an ill. Technology is allowing us to live longer and connect, and unfortunately, technology is allowing us to do this stuff. But you know, it's allowing us to live. My own daughter was born with a very rare condition with my last daughter, Sophie. She would have died if it wasn't for technology. So it's not like technology is an ill here. It's allowing us to live longer. It's allowing us to connect all over the world. It's allowing us to understand ourselves a lot more. But there are problems with social media. There's no doubt about it. And these companies are selling your children. They're selling their gays. They're mining them. They think of your children. This is what I was saying to Commission Demand. We have to have a systemic change where we get them to think about our children as potential revenue, not current revenue. Right? We've got to get them to think like banks. Banks don't think of an 8-year-old as like, you know, a current client. They think of them future client. And that's what we have to think of these, you know, media companies. Think of them, you know, from their 13 onwards. You can get them then, but not when they're 6 or 7. And currently they're mining all their data to get that stuff going, to get them as revenue, because all they're doing is selling the gays. That's why infinite scrolling and all that stuff has been really problematic, because they're trying to just get you into it, get you into it, get you to consume it, and that's not good for your child's health. Sometimes, as parents, we got to pull back and allow our children to kind of experience the world. Let's say, you know, in some ways we're probably too much in their lives in the real world and too less in their lives in the online space. And if we just change a little bit more involved in the online space and a little bit less involved maybe in the real space, we might have a better outcome for their mental health. I just say it's a real honor. I've driven past here many times and I've stopped and asked people for directions. And there's very friendly people down here, right? And I'd always get into a conversation, even when I stopped there a minute ago because I was looking with my wife, said, you pick up some beach chairs. They're going to the beach this evening. And I said, I stopped at one of the hardware stores. I'm going to talk, and you have beach chairs. And the man, one of the men said, yeah, you can talk today. And I was like, I am. He's like, oh, great. And it was just, he said, you love that library. It's a fantastic library in there. It was just reminding me of Cork, I have to be honest. So people are just friendly and chat to you. You might miss that sometimes in Dublin. Not always, but sometimes. So I get such a real sense of the community vibe here. Let's kind of say thanks to Matt and the committee for inviting me down. If there's any question, love to answer any question.
First of all, you know, Cork accent, I'm very fabulous to me that. Well, our son is 20 next week. He had very bad OCD when he was 13 and got a lot of help. And it's interesting there because we will be a religious family. That was part of
the praying. Yeah.
Then magnifies a lot.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of help and he's coming on the way. Thank God. So the first year.
It often starts with that. That's why I said about the praying. Yeah. And now we are superstitious as a species anyway. If you see, you know, I don't know, salute the magpie or whatever, all that stuff tipping and touching.
Yeah.
That's control.
Thank God he has improved that a lot.
Yeah.
But now he's just 20 next week and going to all chapel for sport and push your college. But he just said to me, I wish I wasn't so ugly. So, you know, it's tough. It's
terrible, yeah.
Yeah. And my husband runs out of patience and said, if you're up with gas, you can get it off. So it's you know, I find it people do a lot of this. I really work on the side.
And where's he got this message that he's ugly?
I don't know. When I was his age, I was, let's say, that's stout. I would have been a very heavy person and I would have felt very
Brilliant.
And when we went to the psychotherapist, he said sometimes children pick up from their parents that low esteem.
There's a lot of blame putting on you there.
Yeah, and he said to me, I do get my weaknesses from my mother, and I just said, I feel like into the house.
I would say he gets strength from his mother.
I would be strong now
Yeah.
because it's not when I do feel my person. But it would upset me because my daughter is 2 years younger daughter, and thankfully she is so strong and she doesn't drink. She's 18 one week, and she's 5 friends in the first year, and they just do their own thing. She doesn't wear makeup. So strong personality, like that is the in. But she is lucky that she doesn't seem to call out
Right.
problems.
That's good.
And he would be more like myself, worried about other people. But I don't like seeing him feeling that when he isn't fine up. I said, no girlfriends and not his friends to have. I'm supposed to take the what's about them.
Of course, they do. They're on social media. First of all, I think that they're correct. To be honest, so to speak, don't allow that to come into your
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's probably. This is the thing about modern, because 20 is a teenager still. If you've been on, it's more difficult than ever to actually kind of like yourself, your looks today. I mean, when I was a young fella, I never thought about I never heard about it. I never heard of an ab. I never knew what an abs were. I never heard of that. Or micros or macros. I know, we played football, I played every sport you can play. I played it relentlessly. I was obsessive about stuff always. I played football, never thought, did I get my abs here? I heard in the last, I'd say, 10 years, working in schools, I hear teenage boys talking incredibly about their appearance, and then the minutiae of their appearance. As in, I hear only recently in the clinic, girls to me, I don't like my left ear. My left ear. And I was like, what's the difference between the two of them? And I'm trying to make a joke out of it, show her, this is just a common distortion. And that's kind of where they're gone with social media, that they're looking at every aspect of their face, and then they get a filter up, and then they repair the filter. They realize that, I mean, it's just designed for misery. That's why I say it's more difficult to be happy as a teenager and to love your appearance and food. When I'm sitting there and I'm working with teenage girls particularly, and I hear them saying how much they hate themselves and how much they absolutely despise how they look, I'm sitting there thinking 400 quadrillion to the power of 150,000. That's the odds of you sitting here. Your life is an absolute miracle. I mean, the fact and chance of you getting born at all is just absolute magic. And it's been tainted by this crap. You're looking at yourself thinking, I'm not enough. I'm not beautiful. I'm not stunning like that girl, Mary Mullins, like my daughter said. She's stunning. I was like, Jesus, look at yourself. And I asked yourself, when have you looked at yourself recently? Because I'm always driving that back. Have confidence in how you appear. But it's very hard. That's not because you were whatever you described as a kid stout. That's nothing got to do with your son today, honestly. That's not like a genetic flaw in there. He probably always struggled with a bit of the control stuff. Right? When he's got kids and there's a bit of pressure, he probably lean on that. Did he have a team when he was 10?
I bet I'll get a girl who's sitting. When I die, so tonight I'll be gone sorted.
Yeah. So he doesn't work. And so what I would always say to you about that, and what I'd always when I work with that, because we all have worry, don't we?
Yes.
We all worry, don't we? Does it solve anything? It absolutely doesn't. Nothing for us, it doesn't. But we believe to have it is somehow protective. Don't we? Because if I'm not worrying, I'm just fucking enjoying myself. And if I'm enjoying myself, I could just get whacked. And that would be terrifying. But if I'm worrying down here, I can't get whacked from being up there because I'm just down here all the time. And that's what I described to them. I said, when you're worried, it doesn't change any future outcome. It just rules right now. And so you to have worry or not to have worry doesn't change a thing. And I give them the story of a psychiatrist who went to Toronto English universities there in psychiatric units in the 50s. They came across this woman who was clapping her hands and told the story many times on radio. And he asked her, because he was studying anxiety, he said to her, what are you doing? She said, this is a true story, keeping the elephants away. And he said, well, there are no elephants in England. She said, it works. You see, it works. That's worry. You know what I mean? That's what we do. We feel to be without it means that we're open to getting whacked, blindsided. And what he needs to do is kind of take control of not having control. We'll give him control and have better thinking around worry. Doesn't protect you at all, actually. It's going right now. If you're on the plane, it's going down, you're worrying or not worrying, it's going to crash you away. There's no outcome change there. Not
Yes. How was what's your opinion on I know my own probably when you're in college or that you get negative feedback of yourself. And when you're trying speaking, I think so.
absolutely.
It says me, maybe I want to prove somebody wrong.
Oh, Jesus. A lot of what I do is prove people. Those teachers who said to me when I was a kid, he's lazy. I was told that all the time. He's lazy. A lot of what you do is, I was listening to Paul McCartney speak, and his he tried out for a choir, and the teacher told him, "You can't sing." And he came back in like 1972 to the school, said, "Well, you got that wrong." You know, the most famous songwriter of all time, and singer. And so that does motivate us. There's loads of research around that.
So it can be.
It can be a motivator.
It depends on the personality.
I think it can be an absolute. It can be a killer of self-esteem. But for me, the kind of personality I am, I was always kind of going, you know, if I was playing Douglas and they put me on the bench for the game, and then next time I get on, I'm going to show you what a mistake you made. Right, that's kind of
But I think that's core.
my spot. It'd be weird, yeah. You're used to it. But
Is there just one thing you would say boys are very different from girls? You know, we talked a lot about the girls.
yeah.
Was there anything about the boys? Is more or less the same problems? Or is...
No, boys will be different. I'd say with boys, but the tip I always say for boys is if you want to talk to boys, talk to them in the car.
Yeah.
You know, and the match, this is, you know, what I always said to parents for years, talk to them in the car. They won't want to sit down and have eye contact with you so much. They want to sit in the car and go to the window, how's everything going here? They enjoy everything. And they might give you a little nugget. But I always say, leave it in the car, because parents are always going to want to find out more about that. And go to the house and keep the conversation going. And it's like, don't do that. Leave it in the car, because you might get it again later on the next time in the car. The car is a great place for conversation. But boys, gaming is the issue. Right? Generally. Girls are social media, you know, an image of that. But boys are struggling with images, definitely currently. But gaming is the big issue amongst boys, and the World Health Organization classified gaming as a new mental health condition, which we wanted. I understand what that means, as in the WHO has classified it, the DSM, which is the Diagnostic Statistics Manual, it's the Psychiatry Bible, the DSM-5 has got gaming pending, so DSM-6, when that comes out, they will have a classification as gaming as a mental health condition. And what that means is there'll be a pharmacological response to children's gaming, and they'll be medicating children around their gaming. That, to me, is dystopian. And so we have to parent that and be careful with boys around that, because gaming can be about avoidance, it can be about like having ASD, or it can be about dyspraxia, dyslexia. There's none of those things in this game. I'm free of all those labels when I play this game. And so we have to be very careful about labeling our kids and all that kind of stuff. And so gaming is the big one. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think when kids starting off in primary school now, that the system can turn out different kind of order effort? They build their self-esteem, build their confidence, to build their hobbies and their interests, and let them have flow experiences, you know, that they learn about the magic of life, that they don't turn out.
They learn about magic of life. That's good. It's a good. What's your name? Sorry.
Christopher.
Christopher. Christopher, I've been working in education for so many years, and I do work and carry out research and work in schools and on the board of talking to principals, and I often find myself questioning schools, and I sit with teenagers who say to me, none of this means anything to me. I know when I was in primary school, I used to look out the window thinking, how the hell do I become John Lennon? You know, none of it meant something to me. I found it really just oppressive, and that was the 80s, though. I mean, it was a different time to be in education, wasn't it? I mean, you were called all sorts of names when you were in the classroom. I think it's better, but I don't think we're still celebrating the magic of what it is to be that child sitting in the classroom. I think the fact that we force them into subjects that they might have any talent for or any interest in, I think is problematic. I think we're very bad at labeling. I think the whole, I did a PhD around that, labeling stuff. Because to get a service, we have to label the child. But nothing's more restricted than that label. We need the label to get the access. The whole thing is such a paradox. I don't think we're celebrating the magic of what it is to be a child. I think we stifle in a lot of ways. I'm a big promoter, I'm a big believer in education, obviously. Now, but I've was in college for 40 years. But I don't believe we currently have it right. I think the system we have currently is archaic for the way the world is going. And I don't think it matches what's going on with them. No, it's not.
What's the biggest thing this is?
Just actually, not too much. The biggest fault is that.
Into homework.
Well, no, it's not. The biggest fault is that we all learn the same way. That's the biggest. That is the biggest mistake we have in our education. We all learn differently. We don't process information across the species in any kind of coherent way like that. That doesn't work. And so when you tell a kid you have to do a standardized test, you say the same. You're forcing people into a kind of very narrow way of the reason we survive so because we all come to problems in different ways. And so we shove our kids into the education system and say, you got to now go this one way. And it's very limiting. And I think at times, I mean, so many creative kids. and I see them stifled by the whole thing. Like, I just want to sing here, but we're shoving them into this idea. Yeah.
Or maybe, no, it was just the worry question you were, if somebody's is telling you their worries, and is it at the time when they're saying they're worried, to say, no, don't worry about it, it's all going to
They
be
don't.
fine.
Don't see that would actually make them more worried.
That's what I was,
Right?
yeah.
So just
yeah.
be careful of reassurance.
Yes.
Be careful of reassurance. Reassurance has an actual negative.
And do you wait until?
I would say,
they all
I'd ask them, what are you
yeah.
worrying about?
Yeah,
Let me hear what you're worrying about.
Yeah.
I just validate their worry. I'd hear their worry and I'd validate their worry. But I wouldn't be saying, don't worry about it, it's fine.
yeah,
Because to them, it's a big thing.
yes.
To you, it seems
Well, no, I think what
to
we're
them,
trying
it's
to do
major.
is,
We try to
control.
envelop them in like, don't worry about that, that's fine, you'll be fine, don't worry about that. I mean, it's like, it's that kind of language telling a kid who's in a tantrum to calm down.
yeah,
I mean, that's going to make them more anxious, more kind of like upset.
yes.
So we have to be careful of overly reassuring actually causes all sorts of problems with that thing.
Okay, so we're letting our kids, our young kids watch Eurovision again.
What? What's the Eurovision?
Kids not
Where are we standing on the Eurovision?
Oh, what do you mean?
With our act in Ireland that's doing so well, I think it's going to be massive confusion with it.
About watching the Eurovision?
Yeah.
In relation to Israel and Gaza?
That one, I mean,
That'll be careful.
Bad people can tell. I have to say, I watched it on whatever night it was on Tuesday. So I was playing the soccer and then I went over to the game on. I mean, I'm not a rude, but there was a bit of satanic stuff going on in it. But it's, I mean, it's interesting.
Great. Donna.
You're saying the imagery, but it's scary kids, don't you say? I suppose it depends on the age. Depends on the age, basically.
Watch it with them.
Yeah, it's true, yeah. I've never been asked back to the Eurovision before. What age are they?
I'm great from 11 or 6 of them.
Some of the imagery, some of the imagery, I was watching it and I was thinking some of the imagery is probably scary enough for a 6-year-old. Yeah, massive. You serious? No, absolutely. That's why my tongue changed. No, it absolutely is. And we have to be very careful. Absolutely. And we have to be very careful because, adolescence is always a time of like exploration. I mean, how many of us here asking for this question about who we are and, what about sexuality? That's adolescence, trying to figure out who you are and all that kind of stuff. And, it's a particularly troubling.
You're not too much. Yes.
We touched on earlier. In relation to, say, parenting, you mentioned your what is the situation where the family that you have the parents and they
Yeah.
And then you have another parent within that family and they.
Are they separated in this? Or?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Very common. I work with that a lot.
Families,
Yeah.
And then you have this child who's getting mixed messages.
And it's very destructive for a child to get
Right.
expected. Yeah.
So what would?
That's a very common story in parenting,
Yeah.
right? So generally now, story will be, family separated. I'm just trying to give a kind of a generic, but all of the cases I'm working on, just trying to compile all that into the data. Generally, the dad's outside the family, and mom's at home with the kids, right? And generally, dad might be the kind of good time dad, and mom might be trying to bring the rules. Some of the stories I've worked on a lot. Not always the case now, I'm not saying it's always the case, but generally, right? And what I'd always say to mom in that situation when we're working, and I'm home with dad, bringing that into the conversation also, that you can't change your parenting because someone else is parenting in a way that is ultimately going to be disruptive for your child's development and understanding themselves, the rules and regulations and consequences and good thinking and critical thinking. You have to hold that line. more than ever it's required in that scenario. Your children will not be happy with you, and they'll say things like, "Dad's much more fun," or mom will say, "Mom's much more fun than you are," right? That hurts, no doubt about it. But in my experience, children around 17, when the brain becomes a little bit more sophisticated, parts of the regions of the brain for abstract thinking becomes a little bit more developed, they will look around and they know exactly what the hell is going on there. They know what you're. Now when they're 12 now, they just want you to give them what they want. I want dad lets me game or mom lets me game all night long or blah blah blah. You can't allow yourself to move like that. Hold the line. I would say hold the line even firmer there, because they need you more than anything. And when they get older, they will understand what's going on there. But if you had a relationship with your partner, I would be trying to say to them, we need to be aligned here. It depends obviously the reasons for separation and all the rest of it, but we need to be aligned here, and we need to kind of parent coherently, because inconsistent messages are so destructive for children. I mean, I can't think of anything more destructive in some ways than a child not knowing the landscape. You know?
Okay.
And say, just before I finish, I have a book. I have 2 books here. One was shortlisted for an Irish Book Award. I didn't win it. I had to get out of my life. I'll come back again. I'll win it the next time. That's the way I always think, right? I will Parenting the Screenager and Home is Where the Start Is. All the money I raise for that goes to charity in the Philippines. We do medical missions and all that, so I put all the profits out of that go straight into the charity in the Philippines. I'm selling it here. I have Revolut, if you have Revolut, or cash, whichever you want. It's not practically quiet, but it's say it's there if you want to buy it, and I'll sign it and all the rest of it. Can I just say before Matt kicks me off here, thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to come down and talk with you. I'll certainly come back again if you want.